The Battle of the Alamo, which took place from February 23rd to March 6 in 1836, was just one of many violent conflicts during a complicated time between the United States and Mexico. U.S.-born citizens called for Texas to be an independent nation, which meant that Texas would no longer be a part of Mexico. Reviewing the complicated relationship between the United States and Mexico through this event can help to explain why the Mexican-American War ultimately took place a decade later. In 1915, the now oldest known film to depict the Battle of the Alamo was released. Titled Martyrs of the Alamo, or also known as The Birth of Texas, starts with a summary of the causes of the battle, namely Santa Anna's disregard for a Republican form of government, his refusal to install a state government, and the Americans' unbreakable spirit of valor. No more than 10 minutes after starting, the Mexican soldiers are depicted as irresponsible, trouble-seeking drunks who harass a white woman. Throughout the entire film, they are characterized as brutal and cruel, and yet, their army falls apart in the end. In contrast, the Americans are called liberty-loving and hardy American pioneers in the introduction. Although they lost the battle, their efforts were not useless and they were all a part of a greater movement. Freedom. Several heroes are remembered, including James Bowie, David Crockett, and William B. Travis, whose letters are valuable items in shaping this history. The obvious racial stereotypes towards Mexicans and the positive depictions of Texan revolutionists are a crucial component that contributed to the romanticization of the Alamo battle and a justification for why over half of what was Mexican territory was taken during the war. Some of the first historians to write about the Alamo stated that, in the name of the sacred cause, the cause of God, the progress of man, the freedom of mind and body throughout the whole earth, this war was prosecuted by the government of the United States in its wisdom as an act of justice. Returning to Travis's letters, a similar feeling is expressed in one titled To the Citizens of Texas. In it, he says that in honor of patriotism, he accepts death if there is no victory. In an afternote, he expresses hope by stating that he believes God is on their side, as they were able to find a great amount of food after not having had anything prior. What is showed in both quotes is the idea of manifest destiny. The United States is portrayed as being guided by a higher being in colonizing and controlling other nations and peoples. With their knowledge and kindness, they will bring about salvation. Ever since Spanish conquest, the native people of North America were seen as uncivilized. The culture of the Anglo-Saxons, on the other hand, was enlightened, and thus justified the forced conversion, genocide, among other cruel acts towards the natives. This racialization was used back then for the exploitation of native peoples, and was then used again for the exploitation of Mexican people and land in 1946 and beyond. During his speech to Congress in 1846, President James K. Polk said, "Mexico has passed the boundary of the United States, has invaded our territory, and shed American blood upon the American soil. She has proclaimed that hostilities have commenced and that the two nations are now at war." It's important to note that manifest destiny is often used as a front for other motivations. In Spanish ruled Mexico, it helped to justify forced labor and thus profit. In Texas and other states, Mexicans were unfit to have such land. They were less intelligent and violent. The United States was kind for as long as it could be, but had to act once American lives were killed on what is declared American soil. Polk absolves the United States of all blame and declares war. The liberty-loving people will forcefully take Mexican land, not because it will monetarily benefit them, but because it is honoring the Alamo